Hello everyone and welcome to part 12 of the Basic Training Booster Pass Edition. Today we're going to cover everything you need to know to play WALUIGI Pinball on 150cc. Appropriately enough, we're going to be going with our usual try-hard build of WALUIGI, Bitty Buggy, Azure Rollers, and Paper Glider for this track. When the track loads up, flick the joystick left at about 1 and hold down the item button so that as soon as the run begins, you'll use your mushroom and start going slightly left. After going over the orange boost ramp, jump so that you land on top of the blue glider ramp. This technique, which is sometimes called fast glider, will cause your glider to come out more quickly, which saves about a tenth of a second over tricking. After that, just hold up and left to angle yourself as close to the left-hand wall as you can when landing, and make sure that you land in a wide left drift. You want to kind of give yourself some room around this turn because what we're going to do is build up a super mini turbo and then release and immediately start another left drift so that we can do a mini turbo trick off the ramp. Landing in a left drift and building up another mini turbo should then buy you more than enough time to get ahead of this gigantic pinball that's going to drop on the right. And that's true if you're running without mushrooms as well. After that, build up an ultra mini turbo around the next right turn and get ready for the first of many obnoxious strats that we're going to have to learn for this course. The goal here is to do another mini turbo trick off of the upcoming orange boost ramp, but as you can see from the gameplay here, there's a pretty specific setup that you need to do to get it. Now why do we need a setup at all? Well, suppose that we try to just start the right drift directly after coming out of the turn. What would happen is that in order to build up the mini turbo, we'd have to soft drift to the right, but even if you're a soft drifting mega pro, your angle is going to be way too far to the right after the ramp, and you'll hit the wall or fly out of the track. So we need to approach the ramp from a wider angle, which is why after coming out of the left drift and releasing the super mini turbo, we do 2 left hops before starting the right drift. This also has the added benefit of giving us some leeway to hold harder right drift angles on the joystick to make it easier to build up the mini turbo before the trick. Once we're done with that, we need to immediately prepare for the next ridiculous strategy. Land in a right drift and then widen it up just a bit before making it fully around the turn. We're going to want to try and grab all 5 of the coins around this turn, which will probably require just a bit of braking since it's a pretty awkward line. We're going to build up an ultra mini turbo around this turn, but we're not going to release it right away. Instead, what we're going to do is widen our drift angle right around when we get to the 4th coin, and then hold the drift over the orange boost ramp. After that, we're going to intentionally hit the wall and then release the ultra mini turbo. Now there's a lot going on in this few seconds of gameplay, so let's break it down a bit more. First of all, as you might have guessed, ultra mini turbos last for a really long time, and if you release it too early, then it's going to be cannibalized by the boost that you get from going over the orange boost ramp. So you're effectively wasting some of your ultra mini turbo. This is why we release it after the boost from the orange boost ramp runs out. Now for the wall bonk, as you can see, we're not only angled kind of far to the right, but we're actually already moving in that direction as well. For some reason, hitting the wall stabilizes your lines a bit and cancels some of that right momentum so that you can take a much tighter line around the upcoming left turn. If you don't hit the wall, then you'll end up really far to the right, which is going to cost you multiple tenths of a second per lap. All of this stuff is pretty annoying to learn, and if you're just looking to beat the staff ghost, all you need to do is drive straight and trick off the first ramp, and then build up a super mini turbo around the turn before the orange boost ramp. Now once we've made it around that turn, we're going to prepare for yet another ridiculous portion of the track. Around this gigantic left turn, we're going to build up a super mini turbo, and then immediately start another left drift and build up an ultra mini turbo. This is going to require that you know how to soft drift so that you can get this without going too far left. But even then you'll be facing kind of far left anyway, so you'll need to do 2 right hops to start going straight again. I should point out that if you're not comfortable with the soft drifting, you can build up 2 super mini turbos instead, which will be faster than a single ultra mini turbo around that turn. But after that, we come to the pinball section. Look, being real with you, I don't have any advice for you here. There are other courses like Bowser's Castle and Tick-Tock Clock that have a ton of cycle-based nonsense, but this is by far the most seemingly random stuff in the entire game. It's not truly random because everything operates on a global cycle, so as you saw, I started a left drift around the pinball because I knew what my pace looked like and where the pinball was going to be. But in reality, when you're learning this section of the track, the movement of the pinballs can seem really erratic and unpredictable because it's never really clear where they're going to go once they hit the bumpers. And unfortunately, you pretty much just need to learn where they're going to be on every lap and then plan your lines ahead of time accordingly. The fastest way to get through this section is to try and alternate a left drift into a right drift into a left drift, and then possibly finish up with one more right drift if the cycle's being kind enough to you. But as you can see from this footage on lap 2, the second pinball almost totally clobbered me, and then I almost ran straight into the bumper immediately after. Actually, had I been just a couple tenths of a second slower, I definitely would have hit the bumper. You can see what it looks like when the bumper's in your way from my lap 3 footage where I'm forced to drift around the right side instead of the left. Honestly, what makes this section so difficult is trying to find the way to optimally drift through all of it while dealing with the pinballs. So if it's giving you issues, you'll have a much easier time if you just drive straight through the whole section like you can see here. So yeah, this section really sucks. Now what I will say is that you really only need to learn how to deal with the pinballs because the bumpers move slowly enough that they're more or less reactable. But in either case, once you make it out of the pinball section, all you gotta do is build up 2 super mini turbos around the final turns of the lap. Laps 2 and 3 are pretty much identical to lap 1, but before moving on to the time trial demonstration, let's talk about the world record a bit. The strats are honestly pretty much the same as what we've been doing with 2 main exceptions. First up, for the wall bonk, they do it in such a way as to detach from the track and then get a little bit of airtime. According to some really high level players, this detachment does actually save time, but I'm honestly not really sure why. The other main difference is that in the pinball section, they go absolutely bonkers with the mini turbos, and I'm pretty sure that this is where almost all the time save comes from the baby strats over the WALUIGI build that we're using. Other than that though, we've gone over about all the strats, so let's check out my current personal best while I talk a bit more about the track. We've got a lot of time to kill, so while you're watching, it'd be really cool if you could click the like button on this video so that it can get spread to more people. I really do appreciate it, so thank you very much. Now, WALUIGI Pinball is a very polarizing course, and I'm not just talking among the community where people seem to either really love it or really hate it. I'm talking like within myself. I both love and hate the course simultaneously. In my track ranking video, I talk about how much fun the course is to time trial and how I'd rank this in A tier if it just had some shortcuts for online play. Then a couple of weeks ago when I started learning the track, I made a post on Twitter talking about how this is one of the worst courses in the game. And now, well, now I enjoy it again. So why all the back and forth? Well, as you might have guessed, it all has to do with the pinball section. My old PB was a 2:28 something, and with that sort of time, the pinballs and bumpers are all pretty easy to deal with. But as I got better and better at the course, I basically had to relearn that portion of the track. But I mean, that's basically what you have to do with Bowser's Castle, right? So why is my opinion on this course so different? Well, because outside of all the cycle-based nonsense you have to deal with, Bowser's Castle isn't a really technical course, so learning the cycles is basically the entire point. That's where 90% of the challenge is at. But WALUIGI Pinball is a pretty challenging course in its own right, even without all the pinball bumper stuff. Your hands really only get a break at the very end of the lap, and the rest of the time you're either holding your controller in a death grip to get good soft drifting angles, or else doing some weird complicated mini turbo setups. So you need to keep track of how to run the consistent parts of the course while simultaneously trying to learn where all the moving parts are going to be in the pinball section. It's all pretty overwhelming, to be honest, and I lost track of the number of runs that I lost because I just straight up forgot that I had to do one of the mini turbo trick setups. And the worst thing is that as you get better at the course, the cycles are going to change, which is going to force you to have to learn a new set of cycles on all 3 laps. So yeah, all that coupled with the fact that this is the longest course in the game by a pretty huge margin makes WALUIGI Pinball definitely one of the more difficult courses to learn, which is why I had this week-and-a-half long period where I absolutely hated it. But once you actually learn the course, the cycles pretty much become a non-issue, and its difficulty and the unique strategies that you have to learn to play it properly make it one of the more fun courses to actually run. So ironically enough, my current opinion of the course is basically what my original opinion was. The lack of shortcuts and the cycles make it kinda sucky to play online, but as far as time trialing goes, it's a ton of fun. And that's everything you need to know to play WALUIGI Pinball on 150cc. I hope this video is helpful to all of you, and please don't forget to click the like button and to subscribe before you go, since I do release a new video every week. Thank you all very much for taking the time out of your day to do some basic training, and as always, I will see you in the next video.